Paranormal events are terrifying incidents that everyone has either experienced at least once, or if not, has heard about from others, and which we cannot explain. Recently I asked my followers to send in their own paranormal experiences, and here are the creepiest ones. This is something that happened to me 2 years ago. I am 17 years old. I had just finished the 3rd year of high school, and was about to start the 4th. It was summertime. I'm not sure, but it was either late June or early July. Of course, since there was no school, my sleep schedule was messed up. I wasn't sleeping at night. I would sit in front of the computer until morning. I had a few close friends. We would get together on Skype, 4 or 5 of us, and play online games and such. Anyway, it was just another ordinary day. It was around 11 p.m. No one had come on Skype yet. They usually came online at night anyway. I was bored too, sitting in front of the computer. I thought, let me go inside and watch some TV or something. Of course, my mom and dad were in the living room watching TV. At that moment, my older brother was hanging out in his own room. Compared to the other rooms, mine is a bit smaller. But when we moved into this house, I was the one who chose this room. I wanted it to be mine. I actually find smaller rooms more charming anyway. Anyway, I got up from the computer to go inside. The door to my room is usually closed. I don't know if it's to isolate myself in the room or what, but I always close the door to my room. As I was getting up from the chair, I pressed the monitor's button at the same time to turn it off. The room was pitch dark inside. To turn on the light, you had to go to the other end of the room. Anyway, the light switch is right next to the door. Right next to it! So I wasn't going to turn on the light, I was just going to open the door and leave. But since my room is a bit messy, I picked up my phone from the desk so I wouldn't trip over something in the dark. I pressed the middle button on my phone to turn on its light. But since my phone's light goes out quickly, I had to keep pressing the middle button again and again. Anyway, as soon as I pressed the phone's button, the room lit up a little. I mean, when I say it lit up, I could only see about half a meter in front of me. I could make out some objects and stuff. There's an armchair next to my bed, and there's a bit of space between the bed and the armchair. I don't even know why. In fact, that area doesn't even overlap with the path to the door. It was on my left side, but with a sudden instinct, I turned the phone's light there. And the moment I saw that thing, it felt like boiling water was poured over my head. Something crawled quickly from the gap between the bed and the armchair and went under the bed. But it wasn't like a cat or anything. It was actually a big man. He was bent over and crawling. There is only one moment from that time that I remember most clearly. The exact moment I saw his face. His hair was a bit long but thin and worn out. He was very, very skinny. You know those skinny children in Africa? He looked just like them. Was it because of the phone's light? I don't know. But his skin was kind of grayish, almost translucent, and in that darkness he first looked straight at my face. Then he quickly crawled under the bed. I suddenly ran to the door screaming. I opened the door forcefully. But to get through the door, I had to step back a little. But I really didn't want to do that. But there was no other option. I stepped back a little. At that exact moment, I experienced my second shock. A strong, large, and warm hand grabbed my right shoulder. I could feel its warm breath on my neck. At first, I couldn't react. I couldn't even move for about a second. But then, in fear, I ran through the hallway and into his living room. My father and mother looked at me with eyes filled with a mixture of fear and surprise. My father, "What happened, son?" he asked, running. And my older brother too heard the door being opened forcefully. I wonder if something happened? He came towards us shouting. But I couldn't explain it, damn it. I was so scared I couldn't speak. After waiting a bit and catching my breath, I told them what happened in one breath. My father is someone who approaches these kinds of topics very rationally. He believes that everything has a logical explanation. That's the mindset he has adopted. He was trying to calm me down. He kept saying, "You must have imagined it, son." He saw that I wasn't calming down. "Let me take a look at your room," he said. Should I say trusting my father? Did I draw strength from him? What if I said, I don't know, but he was following in my father's footsteps? My mother must have been scared too. He was following behind me. My older brother was walking a little ahead of me. My father. He put his hand through the door. He turned on the light. And he went inside. I told my father, right there by the door. It came out from right there. I'm saying it went under the bed or something. My father is looking under the bed. He's looking all around the room, but there's nothing. Then he checked the whole house. Again, he didn't run into anyone. "Son, you must have been hallucinating. Don't be scared." He was trying to comfort me, saying things like that. Man, what I saw was so real. I didn't believe anything my dad was saying. I mean, I saw it very clearly. After these events, I couldn't go into my room for almost a month. I stayed in my brother's room. Wow, that was really a scary story. I mean, just imagine encountering something like that in the darkness of the night. Whether it's real or not, no one knows, but even if it was a hallucination, it's still pretty terrifying. Anyway, let's move on to our second story. I don't know if it was real or just a dream, but this incident really scared me badly. It was the morning of last Mother's Day. My mom had gone to my aunt's house, which is 3 streets away. I was hungover from the night before, and my friend was at home playing. We were just killing time with movies and stuff. In the evening, I saw my friend off, and I thought I'd lie down and watch some TV until my mom got home. After dozing off in front of the TV for about 15 minutes, I couldn't open my eyes. I somehow managed to get up, dragged myself to the sofa bed, and pulled the blanket tangled around my feet over myself. But since it was tangled around my feet, I could only pull it up to my waist. Still groggy by my calculations, I slept for about half an hour with the TV on. At one point, I woke up to the sound coming from the TV. My face was turned toward the backrest of the armchair. My field of vision was 0. I was just listening to the TV. At that moment, I heard clattering noises from the door and it opened. The sound of keys, the sound of shoes being taken off, and so on. My mom entered the room. She quietly muttered something. He's left uncovered. Again, I can guess what she said. When she said that, I pretended to be asleep so she wouldn't feel bad thinking she woke me up. Her footsteps came right up next to me. She slowly pulled the blanket and covered me completely. She turned off the TV and left. A minute or 2 passed. I thought I'd wake up and wish her a happy Mother's Day. I saw that I couldn't sit up. I want to open my eyes, but I can't. I'm taking deep breaths, but I can't control my body. Finally, with difficulty, I suddenly opened my eyes and sat up. I saw that the ashtray was still on the table, full. Whenever my mom sees an ashtray next to me, she immediately takes it, empties it, and never brings it back. She thinks I won't smoke because I'll be too lazy to get the ashtray back. But she's very wrong. I thought to myself, oh, my mom didn't take the ashtray. That's surprising. And I went towards my mom's room. I looked and saw she wasn't there. I called out, Mom! Not a sound. I paused for a second or 2. Then I immediately went back to the room. I turned on the TV and started watching, so that the subject would change, so my mind would go elsewhere. I turned on the TV, if you noticed, because my mom had turned it off. Also, Piki was completely covered up. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. I went, opened the door, and my mom was standing there. When I asked her in surprise, she said she had never come home. By the way, this person has another story. Let's take a look at that one too. Again, it's a weekend. This time, I'm at home with my cousin. It's 3 a.m. We're sprawled out on the famous sofa bed, watching a movie. My eyes keep closing from time to time. My cousin says, don't go to bed, I'm getting bored. When he watches alone, he keeps hitting me on the head saying that. But in the end, I can't take it anymore and say, I'm going to bed, and escape to my soft bed. I don't know how much time passed. My cousin came into the room. He said, hey, wake up, I'm bored being alone. I didn't pay any attention. When he realized that didn't work, this time he starts slightly tickling my feet. But in such a way that if I'm asleep, it won't wake me up. And if I'm awake, I won't be able to resist reacting. It's just that gentle. I'm really ticklish. But I was so annoyed. I didn't make a sound. He started tickling my armpit. I'm clenching my teeth. I'm that uncomfortable, but I still don't make a sound. He won't have time. This time, he started putting his finger in my mouth. So I suddenly turned around angrily and shouted, "Wah!" to scare him, as if I was waking up abruptly. I looked around and saw that I was the only one in the room. Terrified, I quickly rushed out of the room. Then I saw my cousin at the kitchen door, his mouth full of food. He was sticking his head out, looking at me in confusion. I said, "Did you come into the room?" His mouth was full of food. He said, "Nope." I told him everything that happened one by one. After that, we put a pillow in the middle of the sofa bed, joined our heads together in the center, and watched movies until morning. I guess it's a situation where you're stuck somewhere between sleep and reality. But it's really scary. Honestly, just like he said, it does seem terrifying. Even if it was just sleep paralysis, I wouldn't want to experience something like that. But what if it's not sleep paralysis? Now, let's get to this story. Personally, even among all of these, this is one of the scariest stories I've ever heard. The other one is the very last story. Anyway, here I go. The cemetery. The summer I started middle school, we had formed something we called a bike gang with the kids in the neighborhood. I don't know if we were trying to imitate American movies, but back then, backpacks were only used for going to school. Every morning, we would fill our backpacks with water and some sandwiches, leave the house, and roam all over the city until the evening call to prayer. Pretty much outside the district where we lived. Right where the village roads began, there was an old neglected cemetery. Years later, I learned that this was where the lonely and the poor were buried. inside the cemetery, but how should I put it? About 200 meters in, there were fruit trees. And even though we were taught as children not to eat fruit from the trees in the cemetery, they looked so beautiful as we passed by that one day we just couldn't resist climbing those trees. I think there were 7 of us in total, and 3 of us went into the cemetery to pick the fruit. The others were supposed to wait by the bikes. I'm going to describe the scene exactly as I remember it. I was quickly stuffing the pears I could reach from where I was standing into my bag. One of my friends had climbed up the sour cherry tree. I remember glancing at him from time to time. I don't remember where the other one was. All of a sudden, I heard a very clear and loud scream, as if it was coming from right behind me, even from the back of my neck. And in great fear, crying and shouting, I started running toward where the bikes were. When I reached the bikes, I realized that almost at the same time, the other friends had also come running. In fact, one of them had fallen and badly scraped his knee. Up to this point, it seems like a normal childhood memory. But the strange thing is, all 3 of us heard it as if it was coming right from the back of our own necks. And the others hadn't heard this sound that made us lose control and run away. In fact, they thought we were joking to scare them. We immediately jumped on our bikes and rode home and never went outside the neighborhood again. And none of us ever told our mothers or fathers about what happened, because if they heard we went there, they wouldn't let us out of the house. The even stranger part is that a few weeks after we experienced that incident, the body of a high school girl who had gone missing in the district was found in the cemetery. This girl also has a terrifying story, but I don't want to tell it here and get off topic. Let me just say this much. It was said that the girl was found buried near the trees inside the cemetery. This incident has been recorded in my personal history as one of the mysteries of my childhood. Wow. Hearing that sound, that scream. All of them hearing it and running away. The other children not hearing them. I mean, okay, maybe someone came from somewhere and the others just didn't hear, or something like that. That could be, but the fact that the girl suddenly appeared there makes it all much more frightening. Let's move on to the other story. Camera. In the evening, around 8 o'clock, I decided to meditate. Before meditating, I put the laundry in the washing machine. I played one of my classical music tracks on the computer. Since the living room and kitchen are combined, I turned on the extractor fan light to create an empty atmosphere. I also turned on the light above the kitchen counter. My computer is running, and my camera is on its tripod, turned on to record my meditation session. Oh, by the way, I also put something doughy in the oven. I figured I would finish my meditation by the time it was done baking. I was thinking I'd eat it afterwards. Anyway, in this situation, I started to meditate. According to the timeline on my camera, about 8 minutes had passed. Then suddenly everything stopped. When I say stopped, I don't mean time stopped, of course. The washing machine, which was running, stopped as if it had been turned off from the button. My refrigerator. It had stopped and was off, as if someone had pressed the power button. The sound system suddenly turned off. By the way, it's not plugged into anything. It's not connected to electricity or anything. It has a battery. It was charged. And its power switch isn't digital. It's manual. The oven, which I had set to a certain temperature, had switched to the off position. I mean, you have to turn that knob to switch it off. My extractor fan light, my kitchen light, had turned off. And it wouldn't turn on. I couldn't get it to work again. They had already blown out anyway. My computer shut down. I couldn't turn it back on either, because the charging cable had burned out, and the TV's graphics card had burned out. While my camera was recording video during all this, it was getting incredibly distorted. Then, as if someone was operating it, it started zooming in and out, and it kept returning to the same position. The strange thing was, a beam of light was rising from both my cheeks up toward the ceiling. When the house suddenly went quiet and was plunged into darkness, I was like, what the hell is going on? I said to myself. When I looked at the devices, all of them had the abnormalities I described earlier. Then, when I saw the footage on the camera, I said, well, they found me now. It was incredibly unsettling. The lamps, the TV's graphics card, and the computer's charging cable. They broke down because of the house's electrical current, fluctuations, low voltage, and so on. Alright, I just can't figure this out. Okay, let's say there was a problem with the electricity, then how did the oven's knob get turned off? The sound system was manually turned on and off, so how did it get turned off then? How did the washing machine stop? How is it that the camera, which isn't connected to the electrical system in any way, does that? It starts zooming in and out on its own? The interference in the video is also being tested. You can already hear the sounds of all these working devices in the video, and then suddenly it all cuts off, all at once. And the interference in the video happens at that exact moment. By the way, the power didn't go out during this time. I thought it must have happened because the power went out, but that's not it either. I also thought the power must have gone out. But if the power didn't go out, how did these devices end up like this? Let's say it was because of the electricity. This is an oven, a sound system. These are manual devices. Forget about the oven. Go straight to the sound system. It's not connected to anything, it's just sitting there manually. How could it suddenly turn off like that? It's really interesting. And now, the real bombshell. This is the story that affected me the most. Anyway, let's get to the story without giving too many spoilers. I couldn't control myself. Hi. Last year, I was really going through a tough time. I couldn't feel close to anyone. I kept thinking that anyone could hurt me at any moment. At that time, I had gotten into tarot. The fact that something I bought just for fun could give such accurate cards, or that I believed it could, I liked it. I knew tarot was considered fortune-telling, but I was looking at it randomly without any experience. I did readings for a lot of people without expecting anything in return. Unfortunately, tarot also created a butterfly effect. By the way, for those who don't know, tarot is a sin and it's forbidden, and it causes different outcomes for those who do readings. I heard that, supernatural beings come and disturb you, and what I actually heard from people who do tarot readings. So, in the continuation of this story, its effect might have played a role. Anyway, let's continue. My life, which was already not going well, became even harder. The small things I did were causing big consequences. I thought about ending my life many times, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I have a problem with vision blackouts caused by vitamin deficiency. Every time my vision blacked out and then came back, I started seeing a figure. At first, I didn't care. This thing was something strange that looked quite a lot like a dog with red skin and drooping ears. When my dizziness went away, this figure would disappear too. After a certain point, I started seeing it in my dreams as well. In my dreams, it constantly told me that I needed to end my life, that I was a failure, and blamed me for what I had done. I had become afraid of sleeping. Thinking it was because of the tarot cards, I quit tarot. But this time, there was nothing left in my life that I could enjoy. Nothing was left. My mother has painkillers because she has had several miscarriages. And these pills are quite strong in dosage. In my adolescent mind, I decided to end my life by taking them. Because I had tried to get rid of this creature, but it wasn't working. It only caused nausea and severe abdominal pain. Since I hadn't slept properly for 2 to 3 days, I decided to take a nap. In my dream, this time it was just this creature. It was going to end your life. You will burn, it said, and I woke up. I wasn't in control of my body. I walked towards the kitchen, but I could only see. I couldn't speak or move myself. Just as I was about to reach for the knife, I heard a dog barking outside. The thing that snapped me out of it was the dog's barking. When those barks repeated a few times, I suddenly snapped out of it. The knife in my hand fell to the floor. After that, when I suddenly looked out the window, there was neither a dog nor the sound of barking. The sound had suddenly stopped. Since then, I've been afraid of dogs. Somehow, I managed to pull myself together after this incident. Wow. While I was looking through these emails, I read hundreds of stories. And this was the most impressive one I read among them. Probably. If I were to mention the others, the first story was also scary. I also found this camera story quite scary. I actually liked it. And guys, there's something I need to tell you. Last night, the night before the day I'm recording this, I was writing the script, so I was picking from the stories you sent and checking them. Suddenly I heard a loud bang. I couldn't figure out what it was. It was in the back room, the master bedroom. I got up and went there. I looked and saw that the light bulb had exploded, and there are 2 bulbs. One of them had blown. Why did it explode? What happened? We've been living here for a few years, and there are a lot of bulbs like this. The house is full of these bulbs and none of them have ever blown. Until now. But this one suddenly exploded. Guys, by the way, I'm telling you this straight from the heart right now. Now I just noticed on this camera, some spots are popping here and there. It looks kind of weird. I use 2 angles. The footage from this angle looks a bit different. I've shot a lot of footage with that camera. But it's the first time I've seen these slight pops, if I can call them that. It's really strange. Anyway, let's continue. Right when I was writing the script, I can't remember which story I was on. It was pretty scary for this to happen to me while I was writing the script. Anyway, something else happened to me this morning. Guys, I had bought a sweater online. I went out to return it. The place where I was going to return it is somewhere I normally never pass by. A place I never visit, where I'm never around. I'm walking towards there. Then I made eye contact with a crow. After that, I kept walking. I've got my headphones on, listening to my music. Suddenly, a walnut cracked right in front of me. It fell from above. I looked up. Above me there was a crow. Actually, this is how it happened. It threw it, then just flew away from there. I had read about this before. I had seen that crows collect walnuts, crack them open, and eat what's inside. But it fell right in front of me. And it happened right when I was about to shoot this video. And okay, look. Let's say it fell, and it could happen. I would just say I happened to be there at that moment. But there's something different about this. I went in, handed over the package, processed the return. I came back in a completely different place. About 200 to 300 meters ahead of that spot, suddenly another walnut fell. I looked and it was a crow again. I couldn't make sense of these two incidents. It happened to me just yesterday, right when I was writing to Metin. The lights went out. And today, just as I was recording, should I say my crows attacked me like this? I don't know, folks. Anyway, by the way, folks, here is Paranormal Arshura. At gmail.com is available. Your paranormal experiences and stories. If you write to the email here, and if this video gets liked, in the next video, I will continue with the stories you send to select from. Alright then, I trust you. You can write about the interesting and scary events you've experienced or heard about. So, folks, if this video gets more than 4,000 likes, I will add a new video to this series. You can like it this way. If you want to support, also, by leaving a comment, you can help it appear in the algorithm and reach more people. And folks, my storytelling style. If you like the topics of the videos, you can subscribe. And here is a random video that suits you. You can also check out the playlist from here. So then, take care of yourself. What the heck is going on?